Hi guys, so today we're telling the story of co-tenants who had a disagreement as a result of a bench, and that disagreement ended in a disaster, an irreversible disaster. So these co-tenants coincidentally bear the same name. They both bear the name Stella. One was Stella Godwin and the other was Stella Gilbert. So Stella Godwin was married, living in the same compound as Stella Gilbert. Stella Godwin had 3 children. She was married to Mr. Godwin Ola, a man from Obudu local government area in Cross River State. Stella Gilbert, on the other hand, was a mother of 1. Now, this disagreement wasn't something serious on the surface of it, but how it degenerated so badly could only be a result of uncontrolled anger, uncontrollable anger. So the disagreement between these co-tenants could have been averted if they both could regulate their emotions. But it turned out they failed to do that, and it resulted in a tragedy. So, in that compound at number 59 Ojora Street, Ajegunle, Lagos, there are rooms, single rooms in that compound, and the rooms are said to have been built in very close proximity to themselves, in what is popularly known as face me, I face you. So these tenants had lived together as neighbors. But on that fateful day, the 22nd of June 2013, a Saturday to be precise, Mr. Godwin Ola had received his sister who visited them, and he picked a bench from the compound to give his sister in their room where she could sit. Shortly after he took the bench into his room for his sister to sit, Stella Gilbert rushed into their room and began to make trouble as to why he picked the bench to give his sister to sit. He said while they were arguing about the bench, the owner of the bench got out of her room and asked Stella Gilbert to let them be. Instead, Stella Gilbert shockingly went to her room and came out with hot water, which she poured on Mr. Godwin and his sister who had visited him. Now, Mr. Godwin obviously must have been enraged, but he regulated his emotions. He controlled himself as it should be. He didn't fight her. He decided to go report the incident at the police station because he didn't want to take laws into his hands, and that is how it should be. After Mr. Godwin left for the police station, unknown to him, another episode took place. His own wife, Stella Godwin, went to Stella Gilbert's room to confront her as to why she treated her husband and her sister-in-law the way she did. In the process, Stella Gilbert wasn't having it. They began a fight, and Stella Gilbert dragged Stella Godwin in an attempt to throw her over the stove fire in her room so she could get burnt. But when she realized she couldn't drag Stella Godwin to the stove fire, she then picked a kitchen knife and stabbed Stella Godwin right on the chest and also on the arm. According to an eyewitness in the compound, she said they tried to separate them from the fight to make peace, but it didn't work out as both of them were adamant, and the fight became so bad, so ugly, that all of them who were there at the time had to run out of the compound out of fear. And when they returned, they found Stella Godwin in the pool of her own blood. Stella died from the stab wounds. Now, when Mr. Godwin Ola returned from the police station, he found his wife, Stella Godwin, lying on the corridor by their room, and he tried shaking her to ensure she was breathing, but she wasn't breathing. So he went back to the police station to make another report of what had happened. The police sent a woman police with him to confirm the report he had just made. And the police officer got to his place, confirmed that his wife was actually dead, and went back to make her own report at the police station. He then took his wife to the general hospital in INTRIGUE, where she was confirmed dead on arrival. Sadly, he then took his wife to a mortuary but was rejected because they had no police report. So he had no option but to keep his wife on the floor in their room over the night. So the next morning, the police provided a van that took his wife's corpse and deposited in a mortuary. When this man was asked what could have led to that bitter fight between his tenant Stella Gilbert and his wife, or even himself, he narrated how he had lived in that compound for over 20 years at the time. And he did said he witnessed when Stella Gilbert moved into the house, and he said they were actually good neighbors, they were friends, and she was also very good friends with his wife, until a day when Stella Gilbert was fighting her own sister. And during that fight with her own sister, she attempted to use a knife on her own sister. And Mr. Gilbert then intervened to stop her from stabbing her own sister. According to Mr. Godwin rather intervened to stop Stella Gilbert from stabbing her own sister. And because of that move he made to prevent Stella Gilbert from stabbing her sister, he became her enemy since that very day, according to Mr. Godwin. He said she extended the enmity to his wife, in fact to his entire family. And since that day, it was love lost. They began to live like cats and rats in the same compound. What they didn't know, however, was that was going to lead to the death of Mrs. Stella Godwin. So the police eventually arrested Stella Gilbert, who had taken off after she committed the murder of Stella Godwin. She was arrested and arraigned before a magistrate court in Ebute Metta while she was remanded in prison. Eventually, she was rearranged before a Lagos State High Court sitting in Ikeja. And she was charged for murder of Stella Godwin. And the trial went on from that period till 2019. And on the 7th of May 2019, judgment was set to be delivered by Justice Raliat Adebiyi. Now, Justice Raliat on that day, before she delivered her sentence, stated that a knife is a lethal weapon, as we all know. And the 4 persons who had testified for the prosecution, including Stella Godwin's husband, her brother-in-law, the coroner, as well as a police officer, all attested to the fact that she was stabbed on the chest and also on the arm. Stella Gilbert, the accused, during the trial, attempted to change her confessional statement during her testimony. There was a contradiction between her confessional statement and her testimony in court, because during her testimony in court, she tried to claim that the deceased, Stella Godwin, had attacked her first, and so she acted in self-defense. Now, that testimony contradicted her confessional statement earlier made at the police station. So, the judge, Justice Raliat Adebiyi, stated that a knife is a lethal weapon, and for Stella Gilbert to have used a knife to stab Stella Godwin not on any part of the body, but right on the chest. It showed clearly that she intended to cause grievous bodily harm, and the consequences she knew. Now, before the judge pronounced her sentence, Stella Gilbert's counsel pleaded with the court to temper justice with mercy. According to her counsel, he stated that his client had been in prison for 6 years. Now, that was since 2013. And that during that period, she lost her mom, she also lost her dad, and she did lose her brother. So he pleaded with the court to not pronounce the maximum sentence on his client, the accused, Stella Gilbert. Well, it was time for Justice Ralia to pronounce her sentence, and she found Stella Gilbert guilty of the murder of Stella Godwin on the 22nd of June 2013 at their residence, number 59 Ojora Street in Ajegunle, Lagos. And she did stated that she couldn't take away the law from being effective as it should be. Now, you know what they say? Those who live by the sword die by the sword. When the judgment was pronounced on Stella Gilbert, she collapsed in the dock. She was crying, she was wailing bitterly and loudly. She kept screaming, "Why me? Why me?" and all of those. But why not you? You took another person's life when you didn't have to. Why not you? She was a mother of 3, and her kids have had to live without her. So why not you? It is sad, really, the things people allow their anger to put them through when they can actually regulate themselves. You can actually regulate your emotions if you want to. The choice is simply yours. And if you choose to let your emotions control you, you should also be prepared to face the consequences. It's that simple. So, other than this, guys, take care of yourself, take care of your emotions, take care of your mental health. Be kind to yourself and the people around you, and always be safe. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like it, share it, and do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I remain Dr. Sigli Olokun, and I love you.